Without wasting time, let's start with the cloud migration. So, cloud migration is the process of moving a company's digital assets, services, databases, IT resources, and application either partially or wholly into the cloud by choosing the most suitable cloud migration strategy. So don't worry about the strategy, we'll discuss later. But the migration, we call it when we are moving any digital asset to the cloud, right? And cloud migration is also about moving from one cloud to another cloud. So it doesn't mean we are moving from on-prem to cloud, only then we will say it's a cloud migration. If we are moving from one cloud to another cloud, that is also called the cloud migration. Okay, let's move next. So what are the phases of cloud migration? As you can see in this picture, we can see there are 5 phases: opportunity evaluation, portfolio discovery, application design, migrating and validation, and then final one, operate and launch. Okay, so let's discuss these phases quickly. So the first one is opportunity evaluation, and in this we define a strategy, right? The first question should be answered within the organization before moving or even before start the cloud migration phase. What's the business value to be gained by moving to the cloud? So this should be answered well before moving ahead. To drive a cloud migration, it's essential to establish a strong business case or compelling events such as data center lease expiry, or we already identified we can increase the developer productivity if we move to the cloud or for the global expansion. Unlike early instinct drive migrations, today's cloud adoption needs a clear goal and rationale to succeed. So that cannot work. If other companies are moving to cloud, then we should as well, right? So we should be having a clear rationale to decide whether we should go to the cloud migration or to the new environment or not. One notable example, just to understand how companies are changing their behavior or increasing in capacity gains, companies enhancing developer productivity through cloud migration, which is leading to significant capacity gain. So if you don't understand this point, so don't worry, as I discuss all other things in this session, you will be get it very easily. Okay, let's move to the next phase, which is portfolio discovery and planning. So when we talk about planning a migration, organization must first understand their environment, dependencies, and prioritize which application to migrate. Obviously, that is very important point. So there are tools in every cloud, either we talk about AWS or Azure or GCP, they have their dedicated tools for the discovery, so that will help you to assessing these criterias. Migrating application varies in complexity, with modern virtualized architecture being simplified to lift and shift, where if we talk about the older monolith system often requires a re-architecting, means a big effort. So it's advisable to start with the low complexity applications for quick wins, as the migration approach will differ based on the complexity of the application. So start with the small ones. Now the big phase, application design and migration validation. These two phases often referred to as a migration factory, which is a big part of the whole migration. The focus shifted from portfolio level to individual application level, because the whole portfolio cannot be managed if we talk about the migration. We have to think about from individual application level point of view. Agile teams should focus on specific migration themes to accelerate the process, supported by cloud center of excellence in their company. But when we are talking about migration themes, it means they have to understand what is going on in each phase of the migration, in each sprint of their agile. Okay, ensure a strategy for testing and decommissioning old systems, involving business owners in real-time validation. This is a very important part that comes under this designing and migrating and validating application phase. The last one, the operate or the launch one, we also call it modern operating model. What we are doing, we are just separating the on-prem infra because our application is ready to launch into the cloud. So as applications are migrated continuously, iterate on your new foundation, shutting down the old systems and evolving towards a modern operating model, right? And this is the right time where you use migration as an opportunity in your organization to adopt practices like DevOps that will help you to in quickly continuous integration, continuous deployment, and agile or lean approach. Think of your operating system model as a constantly improving system of people, process, and technology. So, focusing on developing foundational expertise early on, let your operating system model grow more sophisticated with each migration, because the more migrations will your team will be doing, or the client team or the support team will be doing, so your process will be mature day by day. So don't try to solve the problems upfront, right? Let the process evolve naturally and your whole process will be mature soon. So four phases of the cloud migration are covered so far, right? If you have any question till this point, leave it into the comment box. I will explain if I missed something. These three phases are defined by the AWS, right? So I really want to touch upon these three as well quickly. So these three phases or process is designed to help your organization approach a migration of tens or hundred or thousands of application, right? And as you iterate and migrate more application, you will be able to drive repeatability and predictability in processes and procedures, and find the migration process accelerates itself, because now you know what will happen at each stage if you successfully migrated one application from on-prem to cloud, right? So actually it contains assess, mobilize, and migrate and modernize phase. So what is the expectation in assess phase? You assess your organization's current readiness for operating in the cloud. And most importantly, you want to identify the desired business outcome and develop the business case for migration, right? And the multiple AWS tools, right, that will help you to assess your on-premise sources and build your right-sized and optimized cost production for running application in the AWS. Here we are talking about AWS, but don't think about only one cloud provider can provide these tools. These are available with every cloud provider. Let's think about Mobilize. So you can create a migration plan and refine your business case. You addresses gaps in your organization readiness that were uncovered in the SS phase, with a focus on building your baseline environment, which is called landing zone, right? So this baseline environment is very very important, where your whole applications will be running, driving operational readiness and developing cloud skills. So this is really important. And the final one, as you already know, migrate and modernize. So during the migrate and modernize phase, each application is designed, migrated, and validated. So we have seen from two angles how the whole process looks like. Now you must be thinking the another big cloud provider, Azure, what they decide, how they define these phases or processes. So you can see this picture is taken from the Microsoft blog. So it says they contains four part here: prepare, assess, deploy, and release. And after prepare, you can see the other three processes are repetitive, and in each phase they have dedicated activity. So they clearly define, if you cover these activities, so these will cover most of your migration process task, right? For the prepare one, they talk about ready your landing zone for migration, prepare tools and backlog, select Azure regions for migration, align roles and responsibilities, learn skills that are relevant to migration projects. For SS phase, they mention classify workloads, evaluate workload readiness, architect workload. In the deploy phase, they talk about deploy supporting services, remediate assets, replicate assets, prepare for management, test the migration, and in release phase, the final one, begin change communication, conduct business testing, complete the migration, optimize the cost after migration, which is very easy to understand. Conduct retrospective, it means we can decide what we should continue and what we should finish, right? So now, after hearing all these small phases and their definition and what are the things which are expected in each respected phase, So all these words which are mentioned on the left hand side are now little familiar for you, right? If you talk about prepare, plan, migrate, operate, validation, optimize, innovate, secure, and manage, right? So all these things we prior decide before we actually start the migration process. Picture that shows how the whole migration will look like, right? In this picture, right, you will see all 7 strategies are mentioned here. We start from discovery, assess, prioritize, determining the path, right? Retain, retire. In refactoring, again, see, it has multiple parts: redesigning, application code development, and the whole software development cycle, the integration, then validation, then transition, then production. It means we are detaching our on-prem infra, right? In repurchasing, we are purchasing COTS, SaaS licensing that we discussed, right? Manual setup or automated, both can be done if possible. In replatforming, we are determining new platform, modifying underlying infra, and again validation, transition, production. In rehosting, just a lift and shift, it can be automated or it can be manual install, right? We can use migration tools and simple validation, transition, production. And the last one, relocate, right? We are just relocating, determining configuration, let's say which cloud we wanted to use, and just validate, transition, and production. And retire and retain are the one that we can easily take decision if we have the correct application portfolio data after our discovery. Okay, now quickly, I think we have covered everything, and now you also know the benefit. But let me list them for a moment, right? So we can have the benefits like business objectives are getting achieved, scalability, flexibility, workload requirements, cost reduction, security and compliance, staff skills and training, keeping up with the future, decrease hosting cost, agility and scalability, disaster recovery, and security, right? If I'm missing any of the benefit, you can mention in the chat box. I will see and I will definitely add. And now the challenges, right? If some benefits, many benefits, but there are challenges as well. Keeping legacy application and what to do with them and taking decision on them. Application modernization, cloud management, complexity of migrating, right? Key dependencies, business support, security, governance, compliance, cost management, resource availability, downtime, data loss, resource management. So everything is playing a key role, right? It's not a one day thing. It can take months, maybe 3 months, 6 months, maybe years, right? If you have a very big infrastructure that you want or that you are planning to move to cloud, right? So these all things will come, right? And we should prepare for them, then things will be solved gradually. Now, as a conclusion, you already know, right? Embracing the power of the cloud, cloud has become the inevitable to success in today's digital era, right? Especially when organizations are increasingly migrating to the cloud to drive growth, sustainability, and increasing the productivity of their teams. So, by according to AWS, by 2024, more than 45% of IT spending will shift from traditional technologies and solution to the cloud, right? It's a big claim and this is already happening. Companies wishing to move on from outdated and increasingly inefficient legacy infrastructure, such as potentially unreliable firewall appliances or abundant hardware or software solutions that are no longer operating at optimum capacity, and are now turning to the cloud to experience the benefit of cloud computing. And this is why so many organizations are at very least making a partial migration at this point of time, at least making a partial migration to the cloud, so they can actually measure either they are getting benefit or not, right? So cloud migration is critical, right? It's not easy for achieving real-time updates, performance, efficiencies. As such, the process requires careful analysis, planning, and execution to ensure the cloud solutions compatibility with your business requirement. Okay, so I hope we successfully completed this session, okay, and hopefully you will get some benefit after hearing this. So if you have any question, if I missed something, right, you can just drop into the comment box. And if you are going for an interview, so watch this carefully, right? It will definitely help.